Parker Schnabel just hauled in $2.5 million worth of gold from the Klondike this season, and right now his entire operation is on the edge of collapse. His crew is turning against him. One man flat out says he doesn't even want Parker as his boss anymore. Another veteran deckhand walks off the dredge after 2 full years and never comes back, not dealing with this anymore. "I'm not some pawn in some game. I'm done, man." Across the claims, Rick Ness watches his only dozer destroy its own transmission. Metal shavings pour out of the filter while his whole season grinds to a complete halt, but here's what makes the situation even more desperate: Parker isn't finished yet. He still needs 400 more ounces in the next 7 days to buy his own claim outright and finally break free from Tony Beats for good, 400 ounces from men who just told him they have nothing left. If we're going to be able to find 400 ounces, everybody just has to give it a good final push. That's what needs to happen. Crew tensions, catastrophic equipment failures, and a $2.5 million season hanging by a thread. This is how everything nearly fell apart. The payroll cut. Kevin Beats picks up the phone. His mother, Minnie, is on the other end. She's been running the numbers, twice, and the math doesn't look good. Payroll is eating profits faster than gold is coming off the dredge. Her solution is straightforward: cut hours. Every claim, no exceptions, no discussion. Your dredge master is fine, Minnie tells him. You have to have someone running the dredge 12 hours. The deck hands and the yard people are all going to lose an hour. Kevin knows exactly what this means. Montana has been grinding 12-hour shifts on that dredge day after day. Now Kevin has to walk down there and tell him his paycheck is getting smaller. He tries to push back. They're really good guys we have on there right now. They do work hard. Minnie doesn't budge. Neither should you. You're the boss. It's your project. Then she delivers the line that ends the conversation: that dollar's got to flow into your pocket, not somewhere else. The one who makes the most money is the one who keeps the most money. It's your party. Figure it out. So Kevin walks down to the dredge, and it goes exactly the way he feared. Montana does the math in about 5 seconds. 1 hour per day, 6 days a week, across a full month of dredging. That's real money. On a Klondike dredge operation, deckhands typically earn $20 to $25 an hour. Losing 1 hour a day over a full month adds up to more than $500 gone, for a man working 12-hour shifts in below-zero conditions on a floating dredge, where the entire season lasts only 4 or 5 months. Every dollar matters. That's an entire year's income compressed into one short stretch. Cutting hours isn't just cutting pay. It's cutting into a guy's whole life. You know, my big deal is I'm on this thing for 12 hours a day, Montana says. You want me to lose an hour? I can, but that affects my whole month. That's earnings I'm losing. Dana, the other deckhand, tries to smooth things over. Sometimes there's 6 hours and nothing's happening. That's all overtime he has to pay. But Montana is finished listening to excuses. That's a lot of overtime that I've earned, though. I figured I at least earned the respect of being a valuable employee. Just kind of harsh, man. So here's what happens: Montana doesn't file a grievance. He doesn't negotiate. He makes up his mind right there on the deck of that dredge, and it takes him about 30 seconds. I'm not some pawn in some game, he says. I'm going to take this opportunity to get the hell out of here as fast as I can. 2 years. 2 full seasons on the Beats crew. And Montana quits over 1 hour of overtime. He packs his tools and walks off the dredge. Done. Kevin watches him leave. Well, they're understandably pissed. Montana mostly. We're cutting those hours by a large chunk. That's a lot of money. I'd be pissed, too. But I'm not dealing with this anymore. One crew member gone. And the Beats operation isn't the only place bleeding people right now. Parker and Grandpa John before the crew confrontation at Scribner Creek. Parker leaves the Klondike and drives 600 miles south to Haines, Alaska. He's not making this trip for fun. He's going to see his grandfather, John Schnabel, 93 years old, 65 years in the mining business. Because Parker is running out of answers, I'm headed up to Big Nugget to see my grandpa, Parker says. Because I rely on Grandpa for a lot of advice. John meets him at the door. Hello, Parker. They haven't seen each other since April, months apart during the busiest stretch of mining season. Hey, Grandpa. Am I glad to see you? You, too. God, it's great to see you up here. John has been working his own ground at Smith Creek. We've been about a week on Smith Creek, he tells Parker. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to find the channel. At 93, the man is still mining, still chasing gold. That alone tells you everything about the Schnabel family, but Parker didn't come to talk about Smith Creek. He came because his operation is falling apart and he doesn't know how to fix it. Things up there are tough, Parker tells him. It's a huge change. We've got a bigger crew and I'm having problems with people. They're pretty demanding and it's just rough. John has been here before. Literally, you have the challenge of your crew being a little hesitant to deal with an 18-year-old man, he says. I share your concerns. I came here when I was 19. Parker names the specific problem. One of the big issues is just motivating my crew. A lot of them just kind of check in and check out. John gives him the answer in 2 sentences. That's probably the biggest problem of any job, having the crew motivated. You've got to establish some confidence on their part to work with you. And then he adds the line Parker will carry with him for the rest of the season. The crew are attracted by the incentive of getting paid with gold. That is the key. Not hourly wages. Not overtime. Gold, the actual physical thing that brought every single one of these guys to the Yukon. Don't give up, John tells him. I have confidence you're going to come out well. Parker reaches out to shake his hand. John waves him off. Not only shaking hands, he says. Give me a hug. Parker drives back to the Klondike with a plan, use the promise of gold to keep his crew motivated. But first he has to convince exhausted men to stay for one more impossible week, and that conversation is going to be the hardest one of his entire season. Parker's crew confrontation. Winter has already started freezing the Yukon. Temperatures are dropping fast. At Scribner Creek, Parker's mine is shut down. His crew has had enough, of the cold, of the hours, of the season, and honestly of Parker. When asked if Parker is a good boss, one crew member doesn't hold back. You really want to go there? I don't really want him, honestly. I really don't. That is what Parker is facing. A crew that doesn't even want to work for him anymore, and he's about to ask them for one more impossible week. But here's the situation. Parker has already mined 2,600 ounces this season. At current gold prices, that's roughly $2.5 million, twice what he got last year. By any normal measure, that is a monster season. The problem is Parker doesn't want a normal season. He wants out from under Tony Beats. Right now Parker is mining Tony's ground. That means Tony sets the terms. Tony takes his royalty cut off the top. And Parker has zero control over his own future. Every year it's something new, Parker says. Every year it's something else. Pretty soon it'll be something we can't deal with or something we can't afford to give up. I don't like the way that things are headed with Tony. You know, every year it's something else, something else, something else. Pretty soon it'll be something we can't deal with or we can't afford to give up. That's why I'm asking you guys to stick around. The fix is straightforward, by his own claim. Own the ground outright. No royalty payments. 100% of the gold stays in Parker's pocket, but a viable claim in the Klondike isn't cheap. Parker needs at least 400 more ounces to make it happen. At roughly $1,000 per ounce, that's $400,000 worth of gold he still needs to pull out of the ground, and he needs to do it in 1 week. To put that in perspective, his crew's best weekly haul all season hasn't come close to that number. To hit 400 ounces in a week, his wash plant needs to run non-stop, processing somewhere around 200 to 250 yards of pay dirt per hour, burning through diesel around the clock with every excavator, every loader, and every haul truck operating at full capacity. It's the kind of output that breaks equipment and burns out operators even when a crew is fresh. Parker's crew is anything but fresh. We've wiped your ass 2,000 ounces all season, one of them tells Parker straight. And now we're empty. Everybody's wore out. These guys are done. Every single one of them is ready to go home. But Parker gathers them together, Mitch and the rest of the core crew, and puts the whole thing on the table. We're trying to get set up so we can have our own ground, he tells them. That's why we're going to try to push. If you guys will stick with me for another 400 ounces. I don't like the way things are headed with Tony. That's why I'm asking you guys to stick around. Mitch pushes back. We're all wore out, Parker. We've had a tough season. Every one of us is ready to go home. I know you guys have busted your asses, Parker says, but we can go by our own ground and not have to deal with Tony. What is your plan? Someone asks. How are we going to do this? I think that the ground that we've got open will damn near have what we need if we can just push through one more week, Parker says. What do you reckon? The crazy part is, they say yes, not because they aren't exhausted. Not because they think it's a great idea. But because every single person standing there knows what owning your own claim really means. It means next season they aren't working for Tony Beats. They're working for Parker, on Parker's ground, with Parker keeping every ounce. No royalty payments, skimming 25 to 30% off the top before anyone sees a dime. Full ownership of every cleanup, for a crew that has spent an entire season busting their backs to make someone else rich. That is the pitch that gets through. Mitch speaks first. Yeah, let's go get it done. Let's do it. Another voice adds, thanks, guys. Parker says, let's do this. We're all exhausted, another crew member admits. But another week, we can do it. We know what we're doing. Let's go get all the ground we've got open and sluice. So here's the deal, Parker has 7 days and a crew that agreed to stay. Now the math has to work. 400 ounces means they need to push roughly 60 ounces per day, every day, for a full week. The wash plant has to run maximum hours, 16 to 18 hours a day if they can manage it. Every excavator loading pay dirt into haul trucks non-stop. Every truck cycling between the cut and the plant without breaks. Fuel costs alone on an operation this size run thousands of dollars per day. One mechanical breakdown on the plant, one busted hydraulic line on an excavator, one frozen fuel line on a haul truck, and the whole schedule falls apart, and the ground is not getting any easier. Every night the temperature drops, the permafrost pushes deeper, and the pay layer gets harder to reach. Parker is racing a clock he cannot slow down. Parker has his 7 days. Now he has to make them count, but 600 miles north, another operation just hit a wall, and this one might not recover. the dozer crisis. Rick Ness has been scraping all season just to get his operation off the ground. Greenhorn crew. Bargain basement equipment. Everything held together with duct tape and optimism, but somehow he finally has momentum. His dozer is ripping permafrost in the Freedom Cut. His crew is actually moving dirt. It's a great day, Rick says. Getting all the machines in place, it gets my blood pumping. We're that much closer to pay dirt. His rock truck driver agrees. If I wasn't stuck in this rock truck, I'd be out there right now. Carl, Rick's mechanic, is just as fired up. My heart's about to beat out of my chest. Can't wait. For the first time all season, everything is clicking. The dozer's rippers are tearing through frozen ground so the crew can get down to the gold-rich pay layer. It looks like a real mining operation that lasts about 45 minutes. Hey B, I'm already having problems with this dozer, the operator radios in. 104, man, the transmission is overheating. 104 degree, deep in the red. For anyone who doesn't know, the transmission is what converts engine power into the force that actually moves the dozer's tracks through frozen ground. The torque converter inside it multiplies that force. When a torque converter starts slipping, it generates massive heat, and the whole system starts eating itself. That's exactly what Carl suspects. Transmission getting hot like that usually means your torque converter slipping, Carl says, but here's the thing, pulling the entire transmission to inspect it would take a full day. They don't have a day. So Carl goes for the quick diagnostic, pull the transmission filter. If there are metal filings in it, the gears inside are grinding each other to dust. They pull the filter. They crack it open. There's a bunch of garbage in them, Carl says, holding up the filter. The transmission's eating itself. Metal shavings everywhere. The internal gears have been destroying themselves. There is no field repair for this. No bush fix. No workaround. A replacement transmission for a dozer like this runs tens of thousands of dollars. And even if Rick could find one, shipping it to the middle of the Yukon and installing it would take weeks. They don't have weeks. She's toast, someone says. Rick stares at the filter. I don't even know what to say about what's next. We're pretty screwed without a dozer. Without a dozer, Rick cannot rip frozen ground. Without ripping, the crew cannot reach pay dirt. Without pay dirt, there is no gold. Without gold, nobody gets paid. The whole operation shuts down. We can't afford any more days off, Rick says. We're at the end of the season here, and without the dozer being in place and running, we're screwed. Everything's frozen, man. Rick tells his crew, and without a ripping machine, we can't do anything. He makes the call. Hey guys, I'm going to shut it down. Terry, his foreman, pulls the crew out of the cut. We hit a wall, man. I can't think of anything else to keep these guys busy. I need some direction. Rick doesn't have any. I'm scratching my head trying to come up with a plan, too. Without a ripping machine, we're pretty much shot right now. There's certainly a lack of planning on my part. That is Rick admitting, in front of his entire crew, that he didn't have a backup plan. No second dozer. No contingency. In a place where equipment failure is not a question of if but when, Rick went all in on one machine. And now that machine is scrap metal, and the crew is not going to wait around forever. These are guys who left their homes, drove to the middle of the Yukon, and signed up because Rick told them there was gold to be found. Every day they sit idle is a day they are not getting paid. Every day without a dozer is a day closer to the point where it makes more sense to just drive home. There's not one person here that wants to sit on their ass, one of them says. We're all counting on getting paid here. And if that doesn't happen, why would I stay? On top of all of this, Rick is dealing with internal crew conflict. A new crew member showed up and refused to shake Rick's hand on the first morning, which on a mining claim is about as disrespectful as it gets. Within hours the crew is taking sides, and Rick is stuck in the middle of a team that is fracturing over personality clashes on top of everything else. Dozer's my only friend anymore, Rick says. I brought my friends all the way up here, Rick says. They came up here to work, and they came up here to find gold. And if they start thinking things aren't going to change, what would I expect for them to bail before they get in too deep? That's just how it is. I've got to get this figured out. So here's where things stand. Parker has 2,600 ounces, $2.5 million, and needs 400 more in 7 days to buy his own claim and cut ties with Tony Beats for good. His crew said yes, but every one of them is running on empty. Rick Ness is completely shut down. No Dozer, no Ripper, no way to reach pay dirt, and a crew that is one bad day from walking out, and the Beats operation just lost Montana, a 2-year deckhand, over a single hour of overtime. 3 operations. 3 crises. And Winter is not waiting for any of them. So here's the question. Do you think Parker's crew can actually pull 400 ounces in 7 days? Or is this the season where it all falls apart? Drop your answer in the comments. Music fades.